Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about the one of the important concept to call generic here. Now we identified the multiple example with a different type of generics here. Now if you see here, so this is the package we created. Under this particular package, we come up with a multiple example here. Now first one is how we can create the generic class, and later we discuss about the method related, and later we discuss about the constructor, and after that we discuss about the interface related generic concept here. Okay, so these are the important concept we discuss here. Now today we'll try to identify the another important concept to call lambda expressions here. Another important concept to call lambda here. Okay, so lambda expression, how these particular expressions are going to be have here. So inside this particular lambda expression, now what I will do, I will create a package first. Okay, now I'm trying to create a one more package, lambda expression. Now whatever the example we are going to discuss, everything I'm going to keep under this particular lambda expressions here. So this is what we need to understand here. Now if you observe carefully, so far whatever we discuss here, so these are the important concepts here basically. So like so whenever we are trying to implement any Java library here, then the day-to-day development, basically what they are doing is they are trying to add additional behaviors, like they are trying to add additional advantages here. So coming back to here, whenever they are trying to develop the ongoing the Java library development here, so initially they come up with the 1.0. Okay, so up to 1.0 to 1.4, we don't have a like bigger changes here. So we have small changes here. Now using 1.5, basically what happens here, we did a big major change. So inside the major change, we discuss about the generic concept here. Whatever the generic we discuss in the up to the previous classes here, all are come from the 1.5 version. And the second major release is 1.8 here. So inside this particular 1.8 here, the main important concept called lambda here. Okay, we'll see along with the lambda what are the additional important concepts are introduced under this particular 1.8 versions here. Okay, so if we observe carefully regarding this particular lambda expression, the first syntax is basically they added the new syntax element. First they added the new syntax element. So what is this particular new syntax element here? Arrow related the syntax they added, and so this will give you the power of this particular Java language here. So whatever the lambda new element syntax is added, it will give you the power of our Java language here. So second one is, now what we can identify here, so body of this particular Java like lambda language here, so how it is going to be provide the important concept here. The body, basically entire body, now it will treat as a functional interface here. The first one is arrow here, the second one is functional interfaces. Whatever the lambda body we are going to add, everything it will treat as the functional interfaces here, because the functional interface, it contain only one abstract method. Getting the pen? The functional interface can contain only one abstract method. Now we'll see how this particular lambda expressions along with the functional interface are going to be implemented. We need to understand here. Okay. Now what we need to understand this particular lambda expression. So lambda expression is nothing but it is a anonymous method. Getting the pen? Anonymous method is nothing but this method does not contain the name here. Anonymous class, the class does not contain any name here. So same way here, the lambda expressions internally, it is a anonymous method. Anonymous method is nothing but the name of the method does not contain the name. If the method does not contain the name, how we are going to call the method? Getting the point? So basically, whenever we are trying to work with the Java libraries, we need some basic important informations like class information, method information, constructor information. If this information is are available, then only we'll call this particular the methods are constructor as well as class related stuff. But whenever I'm trying to explain this particular lambda related stuff here, the lambda does not contain the name here. We'll see, even though the lambda does not contain the name, how we are going to call this particular lambda here. Okay, so basically the entire lambda expression, it is going to provide the internally the anonymous class here, the result, whatever the result we are going to get from this particular lambda expression. So again, the result we'll try to store as a, we'll try to store into one anonymous class here. Okay, so these are the two important section we need to understand here. These are the two important section we need to understand. Now, so we need to understand about the functional interface, because first time we are discussing about the functional interface. So functional interface that contain only one abstract method. For example, if you go to this particular min and max, so this is also one interface. Now here you can see min max, basically it is a one interface, and internally it is trying to extend with this particular comparable, because we are trying to compare the minimum value and maximum value. But so here if you observe the interface, now it cannot contain the one abstract method. So this interface now it can contain the two abstract method. This interface will not going to call it as a functional interface. Okay, because the functional interface can contain only one and only one abstract method here. But here this interface is having two abstract method. But here again you may confuse here. So we are not providing any abstract related, because for all the interfaces by default public and abstracts are available. By default public and abstracts are available. So this is another important section we need to understand here. Now we'll identify here. We'll identify functional interface. It may contain only one and only one abstract method. Simple example basically here. Simple example, runnable interface. Now if you see, this is the minimum max IMPL. Here I'm trying to providing runnable. Now if I show you this particular runnable, now here you can see public abstract void run method. Now if you observe carefully, public abstract void run. So now this runnable interface, now it is a functional interface. But how we are saying? Because the runnable interface now contain only one method. So and the method behavior, it is a abstract here. Getting the point? So this is what we need to understand. This type of methods, like this type of interfaces, we'll call it as a functional interface. Okay. So we'll discuss more about this particular functional interfaces stuff here. But now observe carefully. Now observe carefully what you need to understand here. The lambda expression, the first two important section. Second one is functional interface, because these are the important concept. If I want to understand more about the lambda, now the lambda internally it is going to use this particular functional interface here. Okay, so because of this, now I'm trying to discuss about the functional interface as well here. Now coming back to here, after identify runnable is one of the functional interface here, we'll see how it is going to be implemented. Now how it is going to be implemented. Now if I want to identify basically the lambda expression, it is divided into two parts. Now this particular lambda expression, it is divided into this particular two parts. So what is the first and second part here? Okay, what is this particular first part as well as second part? Now if you understand here left side, so now lambda, it is divided based on this particular arrow operator. Now before this particular array operator, we'll call it as a method parameters. Okay, if I'm not providing anything, it is an empty parameter. Now the right side, like after this particular arrow, now this will call it as a method body, or we can call it as a lambda body. Getting the point? Now this arrow, what is doing basically, it is differentiating the parameters as well as body here. Now this particular section we'll call it as a lambda body. Now this particular section basically we'll call it as a parameters here. Okay, so if I'm not providing anything, now it is a empty parameters. Getting the point? If I'm not providing anything, it is a empty parameter. Now using this empty parameter, we'll try to perform the some operations. So all the operations we are going to perform under this particular body here. Okay, so this is all about the basic syntax of lambda here. Getting the point? Now, so once we provided here how we are going to run this type of example. So now if you see, I'm trying to write the simple example. Now, as I suggested, this particular method does not taking any parameter. Now here, I'm trying to return 123.45. So what you understand here, this 12345, it is going under this particular method body. Okay. Now it will going under this particular method body here. Now another important section, method does not taking the parameter. Now it is trying to return this particular 123.45. So how we can create a method like so relevant method. I want to create a one relevant method compare with a lambda expression. So now if you see, so this is a double type. Now why I'm providing the double type? Because here the method is going to return double. Now here you can take any name. Okay, so here you can take any name of the method. Now this is the name of the method I'm trying to take as a my math, like it's like a my mathematical related method I'm trying to take here. Now here return. Now here I'm trying to providing 123.45. So if we observe, this is the lambda expression we defined here. Now related to this lambda expression, this is the normal method so far whatever we discuss here. So this is the way of writing here. Now here you can see how I'm trying to do. This is the name of the method. Whenever you're calling this, the value it is going to return. And here this method does not expecting any parameter. This method does not expecting any parameter. Same way, now here if you observe, the lambda also it is not expecting any parameter, but simply it is trying to return this particular value. Okay, from the body it is trying to return this particular value here. Okay, so this is all about the important section we need to understand regarding this particular lambda expressions here. Okay, now we'll see another important section like another example how it is going to work. Now observe carefully. So one more lambda expression. Now this is also it is not going to take any parameters here. Now arrow operator I'm trying to providing. Now if you see in the previous example we discussed about the some math class. Okay, some math class. Math class basically it will try to provide the some mathematical related methods here. If I want to add, delete, modify something, now we have some different type of method under this particular math class. So just read this math class so that you'll understand what are the different type of methods we are having under this particular math class. Now using this particular math class, now I'm trying to call math dot random method. Okay. After this, now I'm trying to multiply with 100. So this entire section now it will treat as a body of the lambda. Now this left side if it is required to provide any parameters, now we can provide this particular parameters. So this is also one more example. Here you can see now simply we are trying to return the 123.45. It's like a double value. Now another important section, now we are trying to work with the math dot random, and after this we are trying to call this particular 100 here. With the help of this particular multiplication 100, now we are trying to return the whatever the result we are going to get here. So this is the one more simple example. Now another example, if you see here, another example, now I'm trying to providing one parameter. Now I'm trying to providing one parameter. So here I'm trying to providing as a n. Now using this particular parameter, now I'm trying to divide here. So this is a modulo operator. If this particular modulo operator is equals to 0, something like a even or odd number related, we'll try to use this particular modulo operator to check the given number is even number or odd number here. Okay, but what you need to understand here we are providing the lambda method parameter. Now using the same parameter, like what is the name of the parameter name? N I given. Now using the n, now I'm trying to do the like a modulo operator. So if the remainder we'll get as a 0, so we are comparing with this particular 0, so that the given number is even number. Otherwise, the given number is odd. So These two are does not taking the method parameter, but this is an example is taking the method parameter. Whenever it is taking the method parameter, what we are doing inside the body, we are using the same parameter to perform the various operations. Okay, to perform the various operations here. So this is what we need to understand here. This is what we need to understand here. Now, observe carefully another important section. So as of now, we discuss about the three important methods here. So these three important lambda related example we identify. Now this lambda, as I suggested, internally it is going to use functional interface. Okay. Now I will create a one functional interface. So how we can create a functional interface here? Let's observe here under this particular lambda expression. Now I'm trying to create a one interface. Okay, so if I want to create a functional interface, we need to create a interface here. My number. So after this particular number, now I'm trying to return the double type. Now here, what is the name of the method we are having? Get value. Okay, if we observe carefully, so my number, we can call it as a functional interface because currently this particular my number, it contain only one abstract method. Currently, this particular my number, it's contain only one abstract method. So this is what we need to understand here. Now, if we observe carefully, what I'm doing here, now once we define this particular interface, now we are going to work with the lambda expression. We are going to work with this particular lambda expression. Now, how I'm trying to work with this particular lambda expression? Now you can see, so lambda 1 under the main method. Now observe carefully here. So this is an error, right? Remove this. Okay. Now back to here. This is the interface we are having, my number. Now this interface is having only one method, that is called get value, and the method internally it is trying to return the double. Now another important section, this method does not taking any method parameter. So how I'm trying to create a one lambda expression here? So it's a simple. Now here you can see the method does not going to take any parameter. Okay. Now here whatever we provided 1 2 3 dot some 4 5 here. But how the compiler will know this is the lambda expression? How the compiler will know this is the lambda expression here? Now what we will do basically here, what is the functional interface we define here? The functional interface we define as a my number. Okay, the my number, now we need to provide the variable. So if you see number I'm trying to give, whenever we are giving this particular equals, now you can see whatever the error we got earlier, now the error is now resolved. Now the error is resolved. Now what you understanding basically here, now what you understand here, this particular number, okay, this particular number, now it is having as a interface type. Now it is having a interface type. But how this value it is going to print? For example, now what happened? If I'm trying to print this particular number here. Okay, let's see, I'm trying to run the simple example here. Now here you can see what is returning here. It is a object type here. Now com dot lambda expression lambda. Now this is the object expression we are getting here. Getting the point? So this is what we need to understand here. Now using this particular number dot get value. Okay, object references we are printing. Now I'm trying to print the get value. So whenever I'm trying to print the get value, what is the value we are getting? 1 2 3 dot 4 5. So how it is initializing into this method? So this is a very big question here. Now if you see, this is the method does not contain the body. This method basically just we declare here. Okay, just we declare this method. But internally using this particular lambda, at runtime, what is doing this particular lambda? So this particular lambda, it is going to implement this particular method. Whatever the get value method we are having, the get value method is going to implemented by this particular lambda. Whatever the expression we are going to write inside the body, the same expression, it is going to fit into the under this particular get value method. Now whenever we are calling this particular get value, internally what it will do, it will call this expression, it will return the value. Now currently, what is the value we are trying to return here? So it's a simple 123.45. For example, now what happens here? If I'm trying to give this, now you can see we are getting an error here. Okay, whenever you're trying to give this particular curly braces, now we are getting an error here. Now introduce a local variable. So what happening basically? Now you can see, so if I want to perform operation here, we need to perform here. Explicitly what we can do, we need to return here. When we are trying to work with this particular open curly brace and close one, we need to write explicitly return value, because this get value is expecting the return type here. For example, here I am not returning anything. I am trying to make as a void here. So whenever I am trying to save here, now if you see lambda 1, we are getting an error here. Okay, cannot resolve the method println. So now, for example, here I am trying to call the get value, but here what is saying is we cannot return this particular value. So carefully observe this entire lambda body. Now it is working based on this particular functional interface method. Functional interface method, whatever we are going to define here, based on the method parameter and method return type, the lambda body it is going to be working. Okay, so I change the return type. Now inside this particular lambda body, now I'm getting an error. Okay, so this is what I want to provide the information. The lambda internally it is going to use functional interface here. So this is important section. Now wherever you are trying to implement the lambda sections here, now internally what happens? It will go for the functional interface, whatever the method we are having here. Okay, now for example, one more method. Now you can see whenever I'm trying to add one more method, now we are getting an error. Now why we are getting an error? Okay, so whenever I'm added only one method, we could not get any error here. But whenever I'm trying to add one more method, now we are getting an error, because what you need to understand here, this entire body, it is going to fit into the one method. If you are trying to providing one more method, compiler will get in a problem like which method I need to call to insert this particular lambda body. Getting the point? Now, for example, this method I'm going to provide the body like a method parameter. So even though you are trying to providing, now what is suggesting here? Still this issue is not resolved. Because of this only, now we'll call it as a functional interface. The functional interface can contain only one and only one abstract method. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here. This is what we need to understand. Now, if you're trying to create one more method, if you're trying to declare one more method, it will not work here. It will not work. This is what we need to understand here. Okay, so now this issue is resolved. Now I'm trying to run the one more time to print this particular the lambda body, whatever it is trying to return here. So this is a simple example. This is the simple example we identified here. Now another example basically, okay, after this, now what I'm doing here, number. So now here again I'm trying to providing the lambda body. Now inside this particular lambda body, whatever we discuss, math dot random, and I'm trying to multiply with this particular 100. Now you can see, now if you observe, this is a one more lambda expression. The first one, it's simply to return 123.45. The second one, based on the random value, now we are multiplying, like we are trying to multiply with 100. Whatever the result we are going to get, the result we are trying to store into this particular variable here. Okay, this out here. Now, so same thing, number dot get value. So that whatever the value it is going to store by this particular method, it will return here. Now let's observe the two important lambda expressions here. First one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Second one is 20 dot some bigger range of value we are getting. If I'm running one more time, now the value is changing. The value is changing. Why it is changing? Because it is a random. So we don't know. So it will try to give the some different type of values. Random values we are going to get here. Okay. Now another important section here. For example, same the number like a functional interface type we need to give here. Now method not going to take any parameter, arrow operator, and here I'm trying to return the string. Okay, here I'm trying to return this particular string value. Now if you see, now what you need to understand here, now we are getting an error. So why we are getting an error here? Now here you can read this, what is saying, bad return type. In the lambda expression, string cannot be converted into double. String cannot be converted into this particular double section here. Getting the point? So this is what we need to understand here. This is what we need to understand. Now whatever this particular number like functional interface type we provided, the functional interface now it is having one method. The method internally it is trying to return the double type, but using this particular lambda body, now we are trying to return the string. So this string now it is not going to convert it into this particular double. Because of this, now we are getting an error. Now what you understand here, the lambda expressions are internally is going to work with a functional interface here. Okay, so if we want to understand more information lambda, now we need to discuss about the functional interface. Getting the point? Now we'll see one more lambda expression example. I'm commenting this. Now I'm trying to create one more interface here. First we need to create an interface. Now what is the interface I'm trying to create here? Something like a numeric test. Now under this particular numeric test here, now I am trying to return the boolean type here. The return type of the method I am making as a boolean here. Now this is what we need to understand, test method. Now here into n here. So carefully observe the name of the method we created as a test. The test method is expecting one parameter. Now internally it will try to return as a boolean type here. Okay, so how it is going to be written, we need to understand now. How this particular numeric test functional interface is going to return. Now I'm trying to create a okay. So we can go for the one more example. The main method also I'm trying to creating one more here. Lambda 2 I'm trying to creating here. Main method. Okay. So main method I'm trying to create. After this particular main method. After this particular main method, now what you need to do here? First we need to define the interface type. So what is the interface type we define here? Something like a numeric test here. Now I'm trying to declare as a test variable. Now after this, now here test is equals to the lambda method parameter, but is expecting value here. Getting the point? It is expecting the value. Now if you see here, I'm trying to providing one parameter I'm providing, and inside this particular body, now what is the condition I'm trying to write here? If this particular n value, now it is doing the module operation with this particular number. Okay, so if it is doing this particular module operation with this particular number, now the result equals to 0. Now what I am doing here? Now what we will do? So it will return true or false. Now whatever the value you are going to provide as a method parameter, so based on this particular method parameter, getting the point? This is important here. Based on this particular method parameter value, now what we are doing here? We are doing the module operation. So whatever the reminder we are going to get, the reminder now it is equals to this particular 0. It will return true. Otherwise, it will not return true. It will return false here. So this is what we need to understand. Now, whenever we are having method parameter, so this is a way of defining this particular lambda expressions here. So after this, now what I'm doing here, I want to call the method. Which method we want to call here? Now test dot okay, so instead of giving this test, we can give something different name here. Okay, so we can check here whether is even or odd number. Even dot test method. Now test method is expecting the value. So what is the value we can provide? For example, I'm giving 12. For example, I'm giving 12. So I need to check this, because test method is, it will try to return as a Boolean value. Okay, if the condition is true, now what we can do? We can make as a, whatever the number we given, it is a even number. Otherwise, it is a odd number. Okay, so I'm checking here. 12 is even number. Now one more condition. So like is even. Now I want to give as a 9 here. 9 is even number. Okay, so this is the lambda we define here. Here I'm trying to define the lambda. Now the lambda I'm going to call whenever I'm trying to call this particular test here. But if you observe carefully, for the normal method basically the abstract method directly we cannot call here. Getting the point? For the normal method, for example, so if you observe here, I'm trying to creating one interface here. Okay, normal interface. Now this normal interface basically, so same I want to give. Okay, so this is the normal interface. Now here under this particular lambda 2, see what is saying here. Now if you need to read this error, variable might not be initialized here. So whatever this particular variable we provided, so first is saying initialize with the object here. Getting the point? Because it is a just to be declared. Whenever you declare, how we are going to call the method. Can depend. In the initial days, we already discussed here. If I want to call any method, we need a object here, or the method should be static method. But here, whatever we defined here, normally it is not a static method. If it is not a static method, now what we can do? First, we need to create a object here, and so then only we can able to call this particular if nf method. But before going to create object, first we need to implement this particular method, because it is a abstract method. Just we declare the method here, but we did not initialize the value. Whenever we declare here, how we are going to call this particular method. Okay, so for example, if you see here is saying the initialization. Now if I'm trying to give this particular initialization, now even though I'm trying to give the null, now what happening internally? So you'll get a null pointer exception because it is a null dot nf. You cannot call this. Okay. So for example, I'm commenting the above code, whatever we implemented. Now if you see, I'm running this one. Now you are getting an exception, null pointer exception. Okay, why we are getting null pointer exception? Because this interface type object is not created. So even though if it is not created, we are trying to call the nf method. So this is wrong. For the normal case, what we are expecting here, we need to create a object of this particular normal if. So normally, how we will create here? Using this particular normal if. Now if you provide this, basically it is an interface here. For interface, we cannot create a object here. Can you depend? For interface, we cannot create an object because interface is fully abstraction. We need to create an object for this particular interface, but once we implement this method here, whatever the interface having the method, so then only we can go for the creation. But here, now if you see, using this particular anonymous section, whatever I highlighted, so this is, we'll call it as a anonymous class object we are creating. Under this anonymous class object, I'm overriding the nf method, and by default, it is trying to return this particular false. Okay, so then only now we'll call it as this particular nf here. Otherwise, if you're providing null, you will get a different type of exceptions here. But if you observe, instead of doing these many steps here, using the lambda, what we are doing here? Using the lambda, basically what we are doing, it's a simple, just we are declaring this particular lambda. Now we are calling the test method. Now we are calling test method. This test method internally, it is going to override based on this particular expression. So the entire body of the lambda, now it will go to inside this particular test method. So finally, how this particular test method will implement here? For example, this is what? Public boolean. Now I am giving test2. Okay, it is expecting into value, and here we are trying to do module operator with 2 equals to 0. Okay, so now this is the expression here. Getting the point? Now this is all about the particular method. It's going to be implemented like this. But whatever the expression we are providing, this expression internally, it is going to be stored under this particular test method. Now this is very important section we need to understand here. Okay, observe carefully. So whatever the test method we are calling, the test method at runtime, the lambda body, whatever we define, the lambda body, it is going to store as a body of this particular functional interface method. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here. Now, because of this, now we are calling the expression. Once the expression is satisfied, it will return the true or false value. We'll see what are the values we are getting. Only the 12 we are getting. So we are not getting this particular 9 here, because 9 is a odd number. It is not a even number. Okay, because whenever we are doing this particular division operation, we'll get some minus value or a positive value. We'll not get this particular 0. Because of this particular condition is not satisfying here. Now here, Now observe carefully, I am making not here. Whenever I'm making not, now 9 is a 9 is not even number. I'm using the not value. So that we'll understand here how it is going to be work. Now you can see the 12 also satisfying here, 9 also satisfying here. Okay. So this is all about the important section about this particular one more lambda example with a method parameter here. Now any questions, whatever we discussed first example as well as the second one. Still anyone having any questions? Okay. Now if we don't have anything, so we need to discuss about the another important section called. Okay, so before going to discuss one more important concept, now we'll see with one more example. Now here I am trying to use the same is even, and here because we need to pass value like here along with the data type also we can provide. Okay. Now here what I'm doing here, simply I'm checking if the n value greater than 0 or greater than or equals to 0. So now observe carefully, observe carefully. This is a one more lambda expression we define. Whatever I'm highlighting, this is a one more lambda expression. What is doing basically here? It is trying to do the, it's trying to check this particular greater than condition. If any value we provided, if we provide any value greater than to this particular 0, so that will return as a true value. Otherwise, it will return as a false here. Now, so I'm giving minus 12. So I'm trying to print this particular minus 12. Okay, and 10 value I'm giving. Now here, so as it is, I'm trying to print this particular 10 value. So this is what we need to understand here. Now here you can see the last important section. These two are coming from the above example, but only one value it is printing. So what is the one value it is printing? 10 here. So why the above value it is not printing? Minus 12. So minus 12, it is not returning the true value because it is a less than 0. But what is the condition we are checking here? Now if any value it is greater than to this particular 0 or greater than or equals to this particular 0, what happens internally? It will return true. Otherwise, it will not return true. It will return as a false value. So this is the one more lambda expression. But here I'm trying to define with the data type also. But only data type you cannot define. Only one data type you cannot define here. Getting the point? And here after the variable you cannot define the data type also. So if you want to do with the data type and variable name, you can provide the data type first and later variable name. Otherwise, directly you can provide this particular variable name. Internally, it will convert to the method parameter type here. So no need to type cast any explicitly. Implicitly, it will try to convert automatically here. So this is another important section we need to understand here. Okay. So this is all about the simple example on this particular lambda expressions here. Now we'll see how we can identify. So another important section with two parameters. Now how we can write the two parameter logic here? So class name, I made some different wrong name here. Let me create a one more interface here. numeric test 2. Okay. So 2 param. Okay. Now it is nothing but 2 parameterized method. Int n is a first parameter, int d is a second parameter. So this is all about the simple example on this particular interface, like we'll call it as a functional interface. Now we'll go for the lambda. So lambda 3. Now under this particular lambda 3, now what I'm doing here, so I'm trying to find out the factor related example. So how we are going to find out this particular factor related example? Now here what we will do, first numeric test 2. Okay, I'm declaring this test 2 is equals to how many parameters we need to pass here? 2 parameters. First parameter n, second parameter is d. Now after this arrow operator, now here we need to provide the body. Now what is the body I'm trying to checking here? Now here I'm trying to provide the same module operator if it is equals to 0. Okay, so here also we'll get as a boolean type. But here if you observe, earlier we discussed with n module of 2. But here I am not providing the constant value 2. So I want to check with the dynamic value so that I come up with a second parameter. Okay, now here you can see, now you can call the method call test to 2 parameter 10 comma 2. Okay, so what we can do, 2 is a factor of this particular 10 here. Okay, now another important section what you need to understand here. Now whatever the value we are trying to print this, because here we are doing the division operation, now it is satisfying. So it's the same example, but here what I'm doing here, I come up with a one additional parameter. So now if you are interested, what you can do, you can define the data type also. You can define the data type. Now, but whenever you are trying to define the data type, it should define for the both parameters, not only the both. Now how many you are going to have, for all the parameters you need to define. Okay, so now if some parameters are defined the data type, now some other parameters if you're not defining the data type here, you will get an error here. So what is a simple example? Now if you see, the first parameter I'm trying to define the data type here, but second one, now I'm not able to define this particular data type. So you can see you are getting an error here. So if you are interested to define the data type, you need to define for all the parameters here. So this is all about the simple example on method with 2 parameters. Now we'll go for the multiple lines of code, so which is going to work with a lambda body here. But currently whatever we discuss here, all the example we are having single line here. Now, so as of now we discuss about the 3 example. All the 3 example we are having with a single line statements here. But now I want to provide the multi-line statements here, like how we can come up with the block of code which is going to store under this particular lambda body here. So this is what we need to understand here. Let's see how we can write one more example here. So this is an interface I am trying to define. Okay, so numeric function. Now this function will return int. name of the method, the name of the method also I'm trying to take as a function. Now it is expecting one parameter. Okay, so observe carefully. Now we define the one functional interface here. Now under this particular function interface, now I'm going for the, so lambda, before lambda we can define block lambda demo. Basically, this example will give you the multiple lines of code which is going to store as a lambda body. Okay, under the main method, now what I'm doing is, here I'm going to write the, so numeric function, here I'm doing the equal. So here we need to write a lambda parameters. So it is expecting one parameter. Now what I'm doing is, I'm trying to providing the lambda body. So lambda body, now it is going to have multiple statements here. Now you can see here I'm trying to define this particular body here. But whenever we are trying to write a body, so what I suggested, explicitly we need to return the statement. Getting the point? So for the single line statement, no need to write any return statement. But whenever we are having multiple lines of code, we need to write explicitly return statement, because based on the our method here. Now if you see the numeric function, this function method, it is trying to return the integer type. So this integer type we need to return explicitly. Okay, now how I am going to return this one? To understand this, first we need to discuss about the block of statement here. Here I'm trying to opening, and here into result is equals to 1. Now after this result, int I is equals to 1. Okay. Now I'm using loop here. Using this particular loop, now what I'm doing is, I'm trying to do this particular multiplication. Now you can see result is equals to I multiply this particular result here. Okay, so I multiply with this particular result. So after this, now what I'm doing here, simply I'm trying to return this particular result. So carefully observe now, whenever we are having multiple lines of code, what I'm doing is, explicitly I'm trying to return this particular return statement here. Because based on this particular numeric function interface, whatever the method we are having, if the method is returning any value, so we need to write explicitly the particular return value. Now here what I will do, simply I am going to call function method. Now I will try to print this particular 3 first. Okay, so now I am trying to find out the factorial number. Now here only we can print this particular the 3 factorial number. Now you can see, so 6 we are getting. The 3 factorial of this particular 6 we are getting. Now if I am trying to give 5 here, so we are getting as a 120. Now if you want to debug this, put a breakpoint. Now run as a debug mode. Now you can see n value we given as a 3. Now this loop is going to be repeated 3 times here. So what is the result value initially? 1. Now I value also 1. 1 multiply 1. Total result is 1. Now again the n value 2. Now 2 multiply with 1. So now the value will become 2. So again we are trying to initializing into this particular I here. Sorry, not result. Okay, after this I value 3. Now what we are doing is, so earlier the result we are having 2. Now I value 3. Now this is the expression we are going to do. So 3 multiply 2. So totally it is become 6. Now the same result we are trying to set into the result variable. So finally we are coming out. Okay. Now if we observe carefully, here I am trying to return this particular result here. So this is the result. Now we are trying to return. Now the result is printing. Now if you go to the console, 6. So same thing. Now if we observe for this particular 5 value. So it is trying to repeating 5 times. Okay. Currently the result we are having 64. 64 5 multiply with the 64. So totally we'll get as a 120. The final result we are getting as a 120. Now what you need to focus basically here, like how we can define the lambda body with multiple statements here. So this is the bracket, the curly bracket we need to open. Now we need to close it. Okay. Now after this, whenever this function we are calling at runtime, this entire body, it is going to store under this particular function method. Okay. So this is going to take care of this particular lambda expression. So no need to worry about this particular conversion. So everything is going to take care of runtime. But the functional interface method name should match with a lambda expression. Then only it will convert. Otherwise, we'll get an error here. Okay. So this is all about the simple example on this particular lambda expression with multiple statements here. So to understand string related function here. So this is we discuss about the numeric related function. Now how we can discuss about the string related function. For this particular string related, now what I will do, I am going to define the one more interface. This is the string function. Under this particular string function, now I want to return the string here. Now name of the function I am going to take as it is. Now parameter string n. Okay. So this is the function. Function itself internally it is taking the string value and it is trying to return this particular string value. Okay. So this is one more function. Now if we observe carefully, another important section, I am going for the lambda expression, lambda 4, or we can copy, because this is where we are trying to discuss about the multiple lines of code here. So now main method. Now here what we can provide here, whatever the string function we are having. So now instead of this particular function, we can go for the string function. Okay, string function. Now what I'm doing here, I want to find out the reverse here. Whatever the string I'm going to give, for the given string, I want to find out the reverse characters here. Now how will I identify? Method parameter I'm trying to take n. Now after this arrow operator, okay, we'll work on the multiple lines of code, so that we'll go for this particular braces section here. Now under this particular braces, now we need to write the code. So what is the code we are going to write here? Now here you can see, so same string I'm trying to providing result. Okay, after this now what you need to understand here you need to understand the the important section called reverse logic. Int I is equals to 0, or instead of getting I value 0, now whatever the n we are going to get, n dot length and -1. So this is the length I'm trying to load. So based on this particular length, now I'm going to come up with this particular greater than or equals to 0 and I minus minus. Okay, so this is a loop I'm trying to use. After this, what I'm doing is result plus is equals to caret of I. Okay, now we'll return result. So carefully observe. Now what I'm doing is whatever the string we are going to provide. Okay, the string we'll try to pass as a n here. Now once we pass this particular string as a n, now what we are doing here, we are checking the length, whatever the current length we are having. Now based on this particular length, now we are decreasing the one value so that the last character we are going to load here. Now whenever we are loading this last character, what I'm doing is I'm trying to initializing into this particular I. After this particular I am checking the last character value based on the last character. Like every time it will repeat how many characters we are going to have. Based on this, now it will try to reverse the given string here. Now string function dot function. Okay, I'm giving lambda. So now if I'm trying to print this lambda, if I'm trying to print this particular lambda, so we'll see how it is going to convert as a reverse here. So here you can see what is the n we are passing, lambda we are passing. Okay, this is the n value. Now after this, now we are checking the conditions along with the I value. Currently, what is the I value? I value, this is the I value. Now go to the evaluation, click on this. Now what is the I value we are going to store? 5 here. The result is saying here 5 here. So we'll try to store as a 5 here. Okay. Now I value is 5. Now condition we check here. So what is the condition? Condition I value 5 greater than or equals to 0. Condition is satisfied. Where we define the condition? This is a block. It is going to define for the conditional. Right. After condition is satisfied, what we are doing here? This is important. Now caret method. So we'll discuss string related section in our upcoming classes here. But currently observe here using this particular caret method. Now I'm trying to find out the current character. Okay. Based on this particular position, now I'm trying to find out the current character. But if you observe carefully, the characters are going to be reversed here. The characters are going to be reversed. So this is what we need to understand here. Now, what is the character is stored here? If you go to this particular result, now here, what is the value it is saying? A. Okay. Now, what is the last character we are having? A only. Now, second iteration. Now we are loading the second character. What is the second character? Something like a D. Now, if you see earlier, I value 5. Now, I value it is decreased to 4. So, whenever the I value is decreased to 4, now in the fourth position, whatever the character we are having, the character we are trying to load now. Okay. So, that is D. Same way B, M and A, and last is L. So, finally, we are trying to return this particular result. Now, if you see, this is the reverse order. Whatever the lambda we provided, now we are making as a reverse here. Now if I'm trying to print this, now we will get as a reverse. Now we are passing as a lambda, but using this particular string function, we are trying to converting as a return. Okay, reverse format, and we are trying to return here. So this is one more important section we need to understand regarding this particular block of code here. So the lambda body, now it is going to work more than one line here. So in the previous example, we discussed with a one line statement here. Okay, so this is what we need to understand here. So still any questions? Okay, so we discuss about this functional interface as well, because without the functional interface, lambda is not going to be work here. Okay, now we'll see how we can pass lambda as a parameter, or we can call it as a method parameter. Okay, so this type we'll try to discuss in the tomorrow session. Now this is also very important section we are discussing, the lambda related concept here. So don't miss the daily session. So try to attend the daily session so that we can easily understand how this lambda and the functional interface are going to be implemented in our Java language here. So this is all about the simple example and the Lambda expression introduction part. So tomorrow we are going to discuss about this entire Lambda. Okay, this entire Lambda I need to pass as a method parameter. So how we are going to pass as a method parameter, so that we'll discuss in the tomorrow session. Okay, so still any questions? Still anyone having any questions so regarding our today session? Okay, so if we don't have, we'll continue tomorrow. Okay, I will give you the recorded session link. You can access.